Okay, how about now? Mark Anthony, can you hear me? Okay, tell me, someone write in the chat if you can hear me now. I am unmuted. I am connected. There's a little bit of delay, so I'm just going to wait a few more seconds until I hear. Wait for Mark Anthony, since he's the first one who noticed. Okay, thank you, Bitmojo. Okay, so thank you for showing up. Looking forward to having a fun stream. Let me just mention what I was saying as I was muted, which was this is my third live stream. I didn't expect I'd be so into it. But I am. It's a lot of fun. It's another way for me to engage with people that doesn't require as much preparation as my normal videos. And this week on our Discord server, the Drawing Tablet Discord server, which is a fun place to be, I was soliciting ideas for a live stream and had great ideas. And this one seemed like a really fun one that would be very interactive, one that would let people sort of share their thoughts. And I've been meaning to produce a kind of ranking in some sense of drawing tablets, but I've never sort of had the full courage to get it out there. And I think we'll discuss a lot of fun topics as a result of trying to establish these rankings. So you should be seeing an empty ranking thing in a few seconds. Let me just change the screen. I'm still new to this streaming software. Okay. Everyone should be able to see the tier maker website. That's what I'm building the tier with. And I've left these ranking as S through D. Before I start putting things in places, let me just give you some background on how I'm arranging this. First of all, which tablets am I talking about? I am talking about the tablets. 99% of them that I'm going to talk about today are ones I personally own and have used. There are a couple I haven't used, but they're sort of in the same family, so I know what their experience should be like, or they're very well understood tablets. So that's one thing. Also, most of the tablets I talk about here are relatively recent tablets. The exception might be Wacom. I talk about a couple that are a few years older, but nothing super old like an Intuos 5 or something. And I did a dry run of this tiering just to see how this was going to work. And here's how I'm going to arrange the tiering. So S means basically excellent, right? S tier means excellent. Actually, before you get to the S tier, I'm balancing a lot of things together. So first of all, this list doesn't really talk about cost. So things in S tier might be expensive or even cheap, but just, are they good? That's what I'm focused on, okay? So cost could be anywhere here. No tablets are perfect. Lots of tablets have problems. Some tablets are, Wacom's tablets, you'll see this. They're excellent in so many ways, but they're expensive, or they might have one sort of problematic issue. So sometimes if a tablet isn't perfect, it still might be ranked as excellent. Now, how I think about the remaining tiers is this. Let's just start at the bottom because it's the easiest. I would not recommend anything in the D tier. It doesn't mean like it's the end of the world, like they're amazingly bad tablets, but there are a host of reasons. Some of them might include cost, but generally it's due to a performance issue. Like I just feel like they're not giving you what you deserve. Now C tier is basically, I would say C tier is kind of an okay tablet. And I think what I was saying in some of my earlier videos this year were, you should think about tablets here as they work, but there are some compromises you might have to make, right? Maybe their screens are, have a little too much anti-glare sparkle, but otherwise they're okay. Or maybe their pens aren't great. And you're going to see things, so C tier might be actually okay for people. Like it's average. Now, in some cases, we will encounter this. There are things you can do to the tablets in the C tier that might push them up to the B tier, like buy a different pen. We'll talk about that. B tier is really like those, the tablets that are, I would just say I'd be really okay just recommending them. They're not the best, but they're really good. Okay, like I'd have no problem recommending them. So if you want like a really safe choice, you'd pick B, A, or S tier. Now A tier I found is actually the hardest tier, which is, It's better than what's in B tier, clearly. I think of A tier as things that, are on the verge of being excellent. They may be, one issue away from being just a perfect tablet, okay? And it's really tough because it's hard to be consistent about topics that would push things into A tier or S tier. Okay, and I'm watching the chat, so please feel free to interrupt me, and I think the ad banner is cutting off some of the rows at the bottom. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, this tier maker site doesn't let me. It doesn't. I can't hide that ad banner. I apologize for that, and I couldn't figure out a way to putting something on top of it. So unfortunately, we have to live with the ad banner. I tried actually another tier maker site, which didn't have ads, but unfortunately, the cards look too small in that site. So that was kind of an irritation. Okay, let me move some content over here, and you won't have to pay attention. There's so many tablets that even if though it's cutting off the second row, there are actually 2 more rows underneath my monitor that you can't see. Okay, so I'm just going to take them from the top and move them up. Okay, so we're going to start with some actually easy ones because they're all Wacoms. And by the way, these cards are color coded. The green cards are what's this? Let me just put this comment up here. S tier, no way, too ugly. 8. Yeah, that might be it. That might be something like there's something a little funny about the that puts it out of S tier. That's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you understand what I'm talking about. There's lots of tablets. Okay, green here means tablets that are pen displays. Okay, so screen tablets. Blue, the light blue color means a pen tablet, so there's no screen. Okay, so I've got lots of tablets. Why are there ads on screen? I apologize. I'm not trying to put the ads there. That's the tier maker site, and they're the ones putting the ads. I couldn't find a way to disable the ads. Unfortunately, so I apologize for that. If it's a big enough problem, I've actually got another website created, and we can try this. There's no ads here whatsoever. How about this? If you're in chat, let me know what you'd like to do. Would you like me to use the site without the ads or stay with the tier maker with the ads? That's a good use of this this chat. So let me know what you want to do. And let me find where my chat is again. Okay, so I'll just type in a message. Please vote. Well, I don't know how to vote, but let me write a quick message here. Should I switch to the site with no ads? Ad block. That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much, Goyo. I've never actually used ad block, and I was scared to install something 5 minutes before I started the stream. So I'll give it 1 more minute. If you're not too disturbed, I'll stick with tier maker since I'm just set up there, and I think the cards are a bit easier to see. But let me know either way. Okay, are you seeing what I'm seeing or not? There seems to be a little bit of a problem with the source here. 1 second. Why? Okay, having a little bit of a problem. Let's see if I can go back here and switch. That is weird. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm trying to figure out why it's not showing. Ink Blaster, I will actually talk about that Cintiq 13 HD. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like people are seeing some things. Okay, this is going to look a bit weird for a second. Let's see. I can see my face, but I'm not seeing. Okay. Sorry, folks. I have to set this up again. It looks like there's a little bit of confusion with. It sort of lost Chrome for a second. So let's see if we can find it. Google Chrome. Okay. I'm doing this again. Hopefully this works correctly. I just seem to have done something that triggered a weird behavior. Send to back. Okay. Can everyone see the current screen? And I see, and if you want me to zoom in on the site, I will do that. I'm going to use Tier Maker again because the cards are bigger. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. This is going to make it look odd since I can't see the cards myself. So I'm going to keep it back here. Okay. And let me bring up my chat again. Where is it? Oh, Koyo, good point. You'll never know. You'll never know what the ads will show. Yeah, so far they haven't done anything weird, so I'll just count on luck to keep me going. Okay. So let's start with the Cintiq Pro line, and I've bucketed these tablets because many of them just share the same attributes. Okay. So here I'm talking about the Cintiq Pro 17, the Cintiq Pro 22, and the Cintiq Pro 27. So these are all of the same series that Wacom introduced, the new Cintiq Pro line. What's common to them is they have the new ProPen 3. They support up to 120 hertz refresh rate. They have like more professional color modes, like P3 and Rec 709. I don't know what those mean. Hey, create now, sleep later, my friend. Good to see you. This is another tablet enthusiast. Glad you could join the stream, my friend. We're just talking about ranking the Cintiq Pros. And the other thing they support is touch. Okay, so let me just move them in. They are S rank. They're absolutely, there is no doubt these are S rank. Okay, the drawing performance is fantastic. The screens look great. They don't have much anti-glare sparkle at all. They work with the older ProPen 2 as well. There is an imperfection, okay, in these Cintiq Pros, and that is, number one, they're crazy expensive. The cheapest one here, the 17-inch, is $2,500. That's a crazy cost. I mean, but that's Wacom's strategy. They really seem to be targeting these professional users who can pay that. Now, besides the cost, the other thing that bothers me, it's related to sort of, I guess, the brightness of the screen, or the fact that it takes so much energy for these screens. These three pen displays have a fan. Maybe they have multiple fans, but you can hear the fan. At 100% brightness, definitely you can hear the 27 and the 22. I suppose the same thing is true of the 17. It's irritating. Now, I like a quiet environment. If you're in an office and there are people moving around and other computers, maybe you'll not notice the sound. In a quiet office, and my house is very quiet, it bothers me. It's not loud per se. It is the loudest thing in my office when it's quiet. So at night, I hear these, it drives me crazy. With the 22, which is my favorite size, I actually set the brightness to 50%. And that causes the fan noise to diminish a bit. I don't notice it as much, except maybe when it's very, very quiet. But that, to me, it's an imperfection. I don't know if it can be avoided because I think, again, it's linked to the brightness, right? That's why these displays are so bright. I don't fully understand why, I have an Apple iPad in front of me, why the Apple iPad is so much brighter, but there are no fans there. So something's not adding up for me why fans are needed for these products, okay? And, I have a nice comment here. Let me put this up. Thanks for the video explaining EMR technology. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm actually planning on doing a revision to that this year because I learned so much talking to more tablet enthusiasts. And I got better at making videos too. So thank you. Thank you for that. Koyo, you're going to see some Wacoms in A tier, trust me. Or definitely not in S tier. And some in actually D tier. Okay. So these are S tier. Their challenges are cost, and again, that fan noise. I really have nothing else to criticize about these three tablets, okay? The next one is the Wacom One DTC 133. This is also called the Wacom One 2019. This was Wacom's sort of consumer pen display. I think it cost like $300, okay? maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but it's kind of outdated. It works fine. It has kind of like a decent pen. It's model number CP913, but it's not a great tablet in terms of the display. It's kind of washed out. It's not an IPS screen. It's an AVHD screen, I think, or AVHA, sorry. And for $300, you can get something better, right? Now, this is probably a decent tablet to get if you're on eBay and you see it discounted to $150. But other than that, I think it's filled with compromises. The pen's not great. The screen's not great. It seems like the port on top is really finicky. And lots of people say that over time, it sort of just dislodges and then it doesn't connect correctly. And, I think it's not a tablet I would steer people toward to. Again, if you get one cheap, hey, that's fine, right? It does work fine. So I put this one in the C category because there are compromises, right? There are compromises. Again, Wacom will appear in the D category later, trust me. Speaking of which, we have the Wacom One 13 Touch and the Wacom One 12. These are models that came out in 2020, was it 2023, I believe, yeah. This is DTH 134 and DTC 121. You'll notice sometimes I have model numbers next to the names. That's because sometimes the names are so similar that if I don't put the model numbers, it'll be incredibly confusing which tablet that I'm talking about, right? Oh, we have a few comments here. Let me, sorry, I'll take a brief break for this. Your pen pressure video continues to upgrade from PW517 to PW550. Ah, thank you. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear it had an impact. And it looks like you're going to be measuring them. So that would be great. I would love to see what you get as measurements. Create now, sleep later. Yeah, I don't understand the issue with the thermals. This has been confusing me because I have to tell you, I have a lot of monitors. Like I have single-handedly been supporting the LCD industry for a decade. Like, I gave away earlier last year, I gave away like 12 monitors, right? And I still have too many. And none of them get really hot and none of them have fans. So I don't understand what the problem is, right? Maybe it's because of the EMR sensor, the digitizer, it's drawing more energy and it's creating the heat, not just the LCD panel. I don't know. I'm really curious about it though. Okay, back to these two tablets. Okay, these were meant as successors for the Wacom One. The screens are better. They're good. The screens are good, right? The touch on the 13-inch works great. I actually do like that. Here's the problem. They come with a new pen, which is, it's called the Wacom One standard pen or something, but I know it by the model number, CP923. It's a terrible pen. If you draw strokes on it, you'll get bad strokes. You can't get super thin lines because of the way the pressure's handled. And the strokes look really, I say they're very segmented, right? They pulse. They're awful. And these tablets are expensive. The Wacom One 13 Touch is, I think, like $600. No way I'm going to recommend something like that. Right now, I see it's discounted to $300. I still don't recommend the Wacom One 13 Touch, right? I think Wacom, I can't explain their decision-making, but I think these were disappointing tablets. Very disappointing tablets. Okay, we've got a question. Can the Huion 13 Gen 3 connect to a computer via USB without needing HDMI? Yes, it can, and that's in fact how I use it. I just use a standard Thunderbolt 3 cable to connect it from the Thunderbolt port or the USB 4 port, both work, from my computer to the Kamvas 13 Gen 3. So it will work. I've done it. It works just like the Movink. Okay? And I'm going to talk about that tablet as well. So back to here, I just can't understand why they released it, why it's so expensive. And really, any of the, actually, since he brought up Huion Kamvas 13 Gen 3, the Kamvas 13 Gen 3 is a better tablet than these Wacom tablets, right? The ones on D tier. And that's true of a lot of tablets. And I can't justify spending the money on these, right? And Wacom, I've talked about these topics. Wacom isn't going to fix them, and I'll tell you why. I mean, my guess, they want to create entry-level tablets that don't challenge their Pro line. So they don't want the pens to work quite as good, and they don't want them to work as good because they want to teach you that there's a difference between consumer and entry level. I get that approach. As many of you know, I worked for a very large company as well. That is an approach. You segment your product line, but with competitors like XP Pen, Huion, and Sense Labs, we'll talk about XP Pen and Huion first. Their entry-level tablets are getting good. The Kamvas 13 Gen 3 is a perfect example. So the quality of strokes is better on that tablet than this Wacom. That's the truth. Oh, Mark Anthony's raises a great point about the USB-C port. It's not just a regular USB-C port. Let me just enumerate all the requirements, okay? It has to support something called Display Port Alt Mode, or DP Alt Mode. It has to support data, which it should, and it has to support enough power. And most USB-C ports support enough power for these kind of tablets. Let me be more specific. Since you look at the USB-C ports, you can't visually look at them and often tell what they support. You either have to call customer support, you have to read the user manual, or the easiest way is if your port is a Thunderbolt 3 or Thunderbolt 4 port, that will do it. Or if it's a USB 4 port, that will do it. Okay? So make sure of that, and then it'll work. Okay, and let me now talk about Cintiq Pro 16. Okay, so this is S tier, okay? Absolutely S tier. Now, it's not a cheap tablet. It's still expensive, but let's put it this way. The Cintiq Pro 17 is $2,500. The Cintiq Pro 16 is like $1,200. Or sorry, not $1,200, $1,200, right? So there's a price difference of about $100. What are you losing for that? Well, I don't think you're losing that much. It doesn't have some of that advanced color support. It doesn't do 120 hertz refresh rate, but it still has touch. It still has the best pen on the market, the propen 3. The screen still looks good. So if you are spending money, I think the Cintiq Pro is that, if you want to get something in this size, I would suggest people to get the Cintiq Pro 16. It's an absolutely great tablet. And I think it does have a fan, but its fan noise is even less than the other Cintiq Pro models. So I love the tablet. I think it's a fantastic choice to get into that professional series, right? Okay. Get the chat back up there. Okay, the next one is the Cintiq 22 and Cintiq 16. Now, this is a tough one, okay? I don't think they're S tier. Probably I don't think they ever were S tier, okay? I would say the challenge I have here, I'm curious about people's feedback of this in chat, is are they in C, which is compromises, or B? I'm leaning towards C. They definitely have better drawing characteristics than any other tablets in C because they use the Pro Pen too. However, their screens aren't as, vibrant and colorful. They have more parallax, right? So for a Wacom tablet, they have some compromise, and that's why I think C is a good place for them. Okay, and now we get to the Movink 13. Okay, this is easy. Movink 13 is fantastic. It absolutely is in the S tier. Okay, great pen, display looks great. Crazy light and thin, and it will work with a single USB cable, as we talked about a little bit earlier. It supports touch, and it supports touch in a nice way. Like, it was actually very thoughtful. And what I mean by that is, I disable touch most of the time, right? But the Movink 13 has this kind of pop-out menu thing. So you can hit a button, which is actually very hard to see on the Movink, and it'll pop out like this grid of buttons. But even though touch is off, those buttons will respond to touch. Now, I love that feature because what it means is, I've used a pen display, in kind of like in my bed, right? I have, my phone or a laptop and a pen display. And the challenge is you have to use the keyboard. But if you have this on-screen menu, which you can touch with your hands, then it feels more like an iPad in some sense. I'm not saying it feels like an iPad. I'm just saying, it's a convenience. So you don't have to, reach your hand out for a keyboard. And it makes drawing on it feel a little bit more portable, a little bit more light, like an iPad in that sense. The screen is, again, very good. Also, this is interesting. Of all the pen displays I've ever used, this has the lowest, which is good, right? The lowest amount of parallax. So it is as close as I've ever seen to an iPad. I think it's on par with an iPad in terms of parallax. And that's excellent. That is absolutely excellent. It does have the same kind of pointer lag that you see typically in pen displays, which the iPad has less pointer lag. But other than that, look, this is absolutely S tier. So I love it. Okay, let me take a look at a few of the comments. Oh, yeah, fantastic comment from Koyo. There are two versions of the Cintiq Pro 16, the 2021 version and then the old 2016 version. I am talking about the 2021 version. So thank you for bringing that up. I should have made that clear, right? Okay, and we have another comment. If you could rub, I love this. If you could rub the magic lamp and improve one single thing about all tablets, what would you improve? Refresh, interesting. Refresh rate would be your vote. Crazy, there's still 60 hertz universally, not even 90. Okay. For me, it would not be refresh rate simply because I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this. I am one of those people who don't detect refresh rate very well. So for example, for an entire year, I was watching movies on a television and I had the refresh rate set to 30 hertz. I didn't notice it, right? So 60 hertz for me is like fine. I don't get a lot of benefits from 120 hertz. To me, okay, what I want to say is if I could rub that magic lamp, the number one thing that should improve is the pointer lag. That's what sort of, me as a technical person would say. Like that's the technical improvement that would make drawing on these things much better. The other half of my brain, which is I am supposed to be a caring human being and I care about others, says something very different. Now, many of you know I answer a lot of questions on Reddit, okay? And people have problems. If I could rub the magic lamp to eliminate one problem, it would be to eliminate all driver problems. Because the driver problems are the number one contributor to frustration and headache for users, right? I could deal with pointer lag if I never heard someone say, I have to enable or disable Windows Ink. Or, things like that. Because it's so frustrating for people. And if we could get rid of that, if we could make drawing tablets work as reliably as mice, that would be the biggest sort of, it would be the greatest thing to help people feel productive and satisfied with their purchase. That's what it would be for me. But I'm curious if other people think that. What other people would want. Let's see. Going back to refresh rate. Yeah, I totally hear you on the interactive media. I mean, I certainly notice it in games. In my experience using 120 hertz with pointer lag, it helped, but it helped by like 10%, right? Oh, see you create now, see you later. Thanks for dropping by on the stream. Okay, next one. Kamvas Pro 19 and Kamvas Pro 27. Okay, I'm gonna keep it an A tier for a second and think about this one. So what do I have here? I have a pen I love. I like that they have touch. I'm actually really warming up to the 19-inch size, by the way. I kind of was like a huge fan of 22-inch, but now I'm like, 19-inch is sort of a happy balance between 16 and 22. I like the connectivity. The tablet and the pen look good. The drawing performance is very good. There's only one minor nit, which is that, and I've talked about this, people comment in almost every review, the anti-glare treatment, which is very good on this tablet. Huion worked really hard at getting rid of anti-glare sparkle, and they did. They did a great job, right? However, their treatment also creates, for the 19, I can't say for the 27, but no one's mentioned it for the 27, the anti-glare treatment has created a little bit of a softness to the pixels. Notice I did not say blurry. I think if I said the word blurry, that would be a wild exaggeration, right? The pixels are not blurry. They're just a little soft. Now, it's probably the first thing I noticed when I turned on the display. I thought, oh, it's a little soft. I think everyone notices it, and I don't mind it. My eyes just sort of forget it's happening. I mean, I don't even think about it. It doesn't register me consciously anymore. And I forgot about it in 30 seconds after I opened the tablet, or a few minutes, probably better to say. Some people see it, and I just really don't like that. It's a big deal for some people. However, I still think it's a great tablet. I still think it is actually, I think these are actually S tier, right? I think they're that good. And Huion should be really proud of themselves for this because, it's shocking to get something that's that good, right? Of course, we still have to deal with Huion still, growing their support team and they're growing in how they do customer support, right? And they're getting more reliable. Maybe this is when they cross that threshold. And, the Kamvas Pro 19 costs a lot less than any of those Cintiq Pros that I mentioned earlier. And that's significant, right? And it has touch, which I think, I don't use touch often, but it's very convenient. So I like it. I think it is S tier. Okay, let's get chat here. Okay, we'll take a small diversion because there's a great conversation now going on about pointer lag. And let me just read this comment. Okay. My investigation, I started a series on lag 2 years ago, which I've not done on my YouTube channel. There are a set of things that contribute to pointer lag. There are latencies all over the place and delays and latencies and rates all over the system. One is the what do they call it? The report rate of the tablet. One is the refresh rate of the display. One is, how can I say this? There's just some latency in the stack. Getting a piece of data from the tablet through the USB subsystem and the HID system, through the pen system, introduces just a little bit of pointer lag. And this seems to be true on both Mac OS and Windows. So it's not just a Windows thing. Now, why does the iPad have less? I think it's due that they're maybe more just optimized. Also, I think they do kind of prediction, they predict the position of the pen a bit. And that helps mask some of these latencies or this lag for an iPad. But there's lots of things causing it. I think, again, based on my experiments, refresh rate's not the biggest cause. I think it's that systemic sort of just processing through the system. That's my best guess. That is my best guess. I've never found any way to reduce it much. I can say this. Now I'm talking about the Intuos Pro. There's some lag Intuos Pro has very little lag, okay? However, some of the lag that it does have, and it does have it, is due to the Wacom driver. And this is provable because you can actually, instead of the Wacom driver, you can uninstall it and use Open Tablet driver. And what you'll see there's less lag. It's noticeable. In fact, the way I felt about it was, because, I've only ever used the Wacom driver really for 20 years or longer actually. And when I used Open Tablet driver with the Intuos Pro, with that lag missing, it almost felt like the pointer was moving faster than I thought about it, right? It was a really weird feeling. Now, it causes, I think, a little less accuracy because there is some smoothing going on. That's where the lag is coming from. But it's really astonishing to see. So if you really want less lag and you're willing to, this is really on Windows, you're willing to like learn how to use Open Tablet Driver, try playing around with it, and you might find that there's actually less lag. I tried it on the Cintiq Pro 27. I did notice it improved the lag too. Again, though it was like a 10% improvement, not like a 50% improvement. Okay. And certainly, Mark Anthony points out lag can come from the brush engine. Yeah, certainly brush engines cause a ton of lag themselves also. Okay, now we're Kamvas 13 Gen 3. Okay, let me build it up. Okay, I'm going to put it in C tier, which is incorrect because there are no compromises. Okay, it's at least B tier, right? However, I think it actually is A tier. Okay, and I'll tell you why. The pen with the Kamvas 13 Gen 3 is the PW600L pen, and it's in the same PW600 series that comes with the Kamvas Pro 19 and the Kamvas Pro 27. So it's got the best pens from Huion that they ever made, and those pens are right up there with the Pro Pen 2. Yes, their initial activation force is like 2 gram force, versus a Wacom Pro pen has an initial activation force of less than 1 gram force. But I think it's a slight difference, honestly, for most people. I honestly, now, the reason I'm not going to put it in S tier, and there's a good case for it to be in S tier, is that the screen is great. The screen is great. However, as you start looking into the S tier, you're starting to notice some interesting things like, oh, they have, these more professional color modes, not just, sRGB and whatever. And I think that's another area where if it had that, it would push it into S tier. If it had touch, that might push it into S tier, which really, in my mind, raises, and I will try to do a video on this sometime, what really is a pro tablet, right? Because right now the word pro doesn't mean anything specifically. And I think our expectations have changed. Maybe touch is, for example, part of what we expect in pro, or those additional color modes. So in any case, I think this is I think Huion is planning on releasing more of these tablets that have this PenTech 4.0 that use this PW600 pens. And I'm expecting they'll roll this out to a Kamvas 16 Gen 3. And I hope we're going to see a Kamvas, a new Kamvas Pro series in these smaller sizes, right? And I think they're tremendous values. And again, I would highly recommend the Kamvas 13 Gen 3 over this Wacom One 13 Touch and Wacom One 12. It's just a much better deal for you. Okay, let's check the comments. Okay, someone's pointing out some of the another person has a Kamvas 13, the older model, and is noticing some problems. Okay, next one is the Kamvas 16. So actually, I'm going to put this here, which is a fine tablet. There's nothing wrong with it. I actually bought one a few weeks ago. It's a little bit of an older tablet. It uses the older PW517 pen, which is kind of, highly variable with its pressure range, but it's a decent tablet, right? I really have no issues with it. And now this brings me to my first topic about, I mentioned earlier, some tablets in the C tier, you can push them up into the B tier. And this is one of them, because it uses the PW517 pen. And I've said this over and over in my videos. In my measurements, the PW550 pen, which is backwards compatible with the tablets that use PW517, the PW550 pens are really good. They have a very wide pressure range. I'm very happy with them. I have 5 of them. I tested them. Maybe, I'd find something different if I sampled 20 of them, but I think 5 is a lot to test. So if you get this tablet or any of the ones that use PW517 in the C tier, please consider getting the PW550 pen. I think it will improve the performance. Okay, Kamvas Pro 24 4K. I have this tablet, and I do like it, but just, again, it's kind of like similar to the Kamvas 16 because it really is, it's got that PW517 pen, right? It has a little anti-glare sparkle, right? Like a moderate amount, right? And so that, I think, is solidly placed in the C tier. Not a bad tablet. I love drawing with it. But I'm expecting that we'll get better ones from Huion soon. Kamvas 22 and 22 Plus, again, I put these in that same sort of C tier bucket. Same basic issues. Have decent screens. It's a little pixelated because it's just HD. They use the PW517 pen. There's no anti-glare sparkle. The only thing that frustrates me about this tablet is it doesn't support using a single USB-C cable for video. Instead, you have to use the 3-in-1 cable, like always. So, for example, let's suppose you use a USB-C cable, like a Thunderbolt 3 cable, and it'll send the signal correctly. It needs the 3-in-1 cable for power. So you're in this really weird scenario where you're plugged the 3-in-1 cable in, and of the 3 other ends of the 3-in-1 cable, only one is going to power, and then you're connecting this USB-C cable to get the video. So it's just very clunky, right? Okay, Kamvas Pro 16 4K and 4K Plus. I'm going to put these here in C. The challenge with these, with Huion, these theoretically even could go in D, and let me tell you why. This series of Huion tablets has really a lot of anti-glare sparkle. In fact, the Kamvas Pro 16 4K Plus, which is what I have, plus the Plus one just means it has a wider color gamut. It has the most intense anti-glare sparkle I've ever seen. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to put this in D tier because it's just too much anti-glare sparkle. That ruins the experience for a lot of people. I mean, it is so bad. If it wasn't for that, it'd be at least a C tier tablet. But it's hard to look at with that sparkle. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Arch has an interesting comment here. And nobody wants batteries and pens again. Okay. I was of that opinion for 20 years or 30 years, okay? I couldn't imagine why anyone would want a battery in a pen. Recently, I think based on my experience with the iPad and the Apple Pencil, I feel a little differently. Maybe I would say my mind hasn't changed, but it's a little more nuanced. The thing I didn't like about batteries and pens is that I have to disassemble the pen and take the battery out and replace it. That was my irritation. I don't think I conceptually minded the idea that there was a battery inside the pen, but the fact that I had to maintain it and replace it was a challenge. With the Apple Pencil, its battery is such that, you just put it on the iPad and it recharges, and it recharges really fast. I think it wouldn't upset me too much if, let's just say Wacom said one day, hey, we're going to make a new kind of EMR, and it's going to be a battery in there, but you put it on top of the tablet, and in 30 seconds, it'll charge enough for 5 hours of drawing. I think I'd be okay with that, right? Because I don't have to deal with changing the battery. It'll still work. And now what I'd like with that is that the pen gives me more abilities, right? Like maybe better pressure handling or some other feature, like, barrel rotation, who knows? But yeah, I've changed my mind a little bit about it. I don't want batteries in general they have to replace, but if they could work like the Apple Pencil, I'd probably be okay with it. Yeah, the pointer lag is a great point. I also am with you there. If pointer lag disappeared but required a battery, I'd probably be okay with that, right? Okay, let's see. Koyo's got a good comment here. You should add the E tier for Wacom One because the Pro 16 4K is still way better than the Wacom 13 Touch at 12. Okay, that's okay. Okay, maybe I'll do that. That's an interesting one to think about. I hadn't thought about that. It's so different, but I see your point. Let's see. Acelia, can you go over why the Kamvas 16 Pro and Plus are D tier? Okay. So let me reiterate. I actually put them originally in the C tier, but the reason I pushed them in the D tier is for one reason only. The anti-glare sparkle is so intense. It's the strongest anti-glare sparkle I've ever seen. It's very irritating. It's so irritating that I don't think I could recommend it. I have the Kamvas Pro 16 4K Plus, and when I plugged it in for the first time, it was shocking. And every time I use it, I just notice that sparkle. And I have to just mentally deal with the fact I can see it. And that's the only reason why it's in D tier. If you're somebody and you can't get rid of the sparkle really, right? So if you're someone who has that, I don't mean to criticize the tablet, but I probably wouldn't recommend people go there first, right? Just because of the anti-glare sparkle. Okay, let's now move to the Kamvas 13. Now this isn't the Gen 3. This is the older model GS1331. Okay, this is a clear C tier, right? It's in line with the Kamvas 16 and Kamvas 13. It's all in line with these models here. Decent tablet, a little bit of anti-glare sparkle. The pen's the PW517, and for all these canvases here, get the PW550 pen, you get a better tablet. They'd probably push them with the B tier, right? Okay. Let's see. Let me take a drink of water. Okay. Artist Pro 16 Gen 2. Let me move this. Okay. Let me park it in B for just a second. Let me just talk about the tablet. The XP Pen Artist Pro 16 Gen 2 and the Pro 14 Gen 2. Those are good tablets. I have the 16 Pro Gen 2. I like everything about it. It only has one, I would say, real flaw, which is, and it's a minor one that you can correct. It has a little more diagonal wobble. And to compensate, you use a little bit more smoothing or stabilization in Krita and Clip Studio Paint. I think the 14 also has probably the same issue. The only other issue with this is not the tablet, it's the pen. The pen, which is the X3 Pros, one of the X3 Pro series, they're a little more inconsistent with their pressure range. Sometimes it's decent and sometimes it's great. Versus, let's say, the Huion PW600 series, the pressure range is just always great. It's very consistent that way. So I think this is better than B tier, but it's not S tier. I would put it in, it's better than B tier. It's not S tier, so it leaves it in A tier. And just so you know, right now of 16-inch pen displays, I recommend the Artist Pro 16 Gen 2, right? The only other thing about this tablet people have to just notice is that it does not have a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. It's 16 by 10. And for some people, they might not like that different aspect ratio. I liked it. It makes it feel like it's a bigger tablet than it is. And it's a really good looking tablet, by the way. I mean, I do really like it. Okay. Let's see. Good. I'm going to put up Acelia's comment here. You have the 16 Pro 4K Plus and never noticed a sparkle. I tell you what. Do me a favor, because maybe I see things differently. Acelia, I have a video in my channel called Anti-Glare Sparkle, and I actually talk about I show the 16 Pro 4K. Can you watch that video and maybe your eyes are picking up and you're not seeing what I'm seeing, or you have a different name for it, okay? But if you really don't see the sparkle, I'd be interested in that data point, and I'll tell you why. My assumption is that the anti-glare treatment that Huion's putting on the glass is constant, meaning it's the same sort of amount of sparkle in all their tablets of that model. Maybe there's some variation, okay? And if you see some that don't have it, I'd like to know about it, okay? So I don't want to unfairly criticize, the entire series of Kamvas Pro 16 4Ks when maybe it's only some of them have this problem. So I'd be really curious if you could come back to me about it. This is a good question. If I have the Wacom One DTC 133, do you recommend me to change for the Kamvas 13? In general, here's what I tell anyone who asks me about should I upgrade, right? Especially since you're talking about one 13-inch with another 13-inch. If you're happy with the tablet that you have and it's working, it is always in your best interest not to immediately upgrade. That's because, in a year or two, you might get, an even better tablet, which is, and, why get one now if what you have is working? So if you're happy with the DTC 133, stay with it, right? If there is something you're unhappy with, then I think the Kamvas 13 Gen 3 is a good choice, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to the Artist Pro 24, this is the XP pen, Artist Pro 24 Gen 2, 165 Hertz and 4K. And let me park this in B for a second. I think they are not in B. I think they're actually A tier. They're not S tier. I'll talk about why. So I have the 165 Hertz, okay? Now, we talked about refresh a little bit earlier. I tried the 165 Hertz with this. I didn't personally get any benefit. As I mentioned, it didn't help the pointer lag of the display. The other thing I did notice is it causes a lot more heat. It's not hot with 165 Hertz, but it is noticeably warm on the screen, right? And I don't really like that. I like it to be more cool. This 165 Hertz, it's not 4K, it's WQHD, so 2560 by 1440. And the reason I got this one instead of the 4K is I wanted to see if that resolution would work. And I think it does. I think to my eyes, there's just a little slight difference between it and 4K. I'm sure some people would say, hey, 4K is obviously better, but I think it's a good, decent resolution to work with at that size, at the 24-inch size. So I'm happy with it. The only thing that I noticed about that tablet was the tilt compensation wasn't as good as I expected. Again, it could have been my specific tablet, and maybe I can find a way to work around it. And it didn't hurt me because it depends on which way you're tilting. Like it's okay when I'm writing right-handed. If I was a left-handed person, like I'd be irritated by it, or at least more irritated by it. It's not a big issue with tilt compensation, but it is there. It certainly doesn't live up to the excellent tilt compensation that I see with tablets in the S tier. Okay. I haven't tried the 4K one. I assume it's very similar to the 165 Hertz version. But I think if they could fix those issues, and their pen, which is they come with some X3 Pro pens, if they fix that issue, one more thing, with the one I have, I noticed it had more parallax, which surprised me. These days, you tend to see, parallax starts to get really low. Even if they're not getting to iPad levels, they're sort of consistently low compared to older ones. But this one had more. It didn't bother me, but it was a little bit of a surprise. So for those reasons, I think it deserves to be an A tier because it's just not living up to what I see in the S tier. Okay, and then we have the XP Pen Artist 16 Gen 2, 13, 12, and 10 Gen 2. All of these are B tier, okay? And let me tell you why they're B tier. Because, the C tier has some compromises, okay? And the C tier, the pens are a little more, the PW517 pen for Kamvas tablets is a little more variable with its pressure range. What I find with the pens that come with this series, they're very consistent. They're decent pens. Like I have no problem with them. Of the sizes, I would say 10 is too small. So I'm listing it here in B tier because, it works well, I expect, if it matches up to the 16, 13, and 12. And I have the 16, and I have the 13, and I have the 12, right? Here's what I noticed that's different about the 13, 12, and 16. The 12 has a little more diagonal wobble. I didn't notice much at all with the 13. With the 16, there's a little bit. By the way, the 16 is, it's literally in front of me, right? I'm actually looking at something on it right now. I'd have to double check. I didn't see too much. I saw a little bit, but not too bad. And I have to check if, stabilization will get rid of it, which I expect it will. But I haven't concluded my testing yet. But overall, I think it's a decent B tier tablet, right? Okay, let me check chat. Okay, let's bring up Vasilia's comment. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rutten? He thinks XP Pen is overpriced Gaumon or something like that, and he hates anything beside Wacom. I haven't seen Aaron's videos too much lately. I'm not sure. I don't think he's producing as much tablet videos. Is XP Pen an overpriced Gaumon? The principle I always follow when I think about any comment and responding to it is, you proceed from a place where, what's the best intention of the comment, right? Right? That, I think another phrase some people say for that is like you use charity for the comment. Like you interpret the strongest version of the comment. So let me tell you what the comment, here's how I parse the comment about overpriced Gaumon. You may not have been around when I talked about this in one of my previous live streams, but there are brands, Wacom, Huion, XP Pen, Gaumon, Artisol, UG, bunch of others. So those are brands, right? Like you see their names and logos on tablets. And then there are companies that own the brands, okay? Now, I just named like 6 brands, but guess what? There are only 3 companies, okay? That's Wacom, Huion, and Hanwhan UG. I don't think there are any others. There's just these 3. And every brand that I normally talk about, I'm sure there's some random brand like 10 Moons, which I don't know what they're about. But of the major brands, Wacom is a company that owns the Wacom brand, obviously, and they make the digitizers, the EMR sensors for those tablets, okay? Huion is a company that owns the Huion brand and owns the Gaumon brand. And I think there's actually one other, Artisol, actually. They acquired Artisol in 2019. And they make the digitizers for the Huion tablets and the Gaumon tablets, and I guess now the Artisol tablets. I'm not saying the same digitizers appear in every tablet. I'm saying that their source is still from Huion, okay? And Hanwhan UG is a company that owns the brand for UG, Sense Labs, and XP Pen, okay? And the digitizers come from Hanwhan UG. I'm sorry if this is getting like too detailed, but I thought I just want to talk about Aaron's comment, which is quite interesting. So let's talk now about Gaumon, right? Let me find that comment. So it's not quite correct to say that XP Pen is an overpriced Gaumon, because Gaumon's under Huion. You might say the right comparison would be XP Pen with UG, okay? So let's assume that's what we're really talking about. Is XP Pen an overpriced UG, right? XP Pen tablets do cost more than UG tablets. That's true, right? However, I wouldn't characterize it as overpriced. In other words, it's not like, I don't think it's a case of like they cost more just because they cost more. I don't see that UG tablets have a lot of customer support that I see, at least in the subreddits. Like in the UG subreddit, there are a few people there, and people, when they have UG, I don't see customer support very active. Versus I see them much more active with XP Pen, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is when you pay for something, you don't pay just for the physical device. You're also paying for customer support. That's how customer support is funded. So that's one of the reasons Sense Labs, I think, costs so much, because like almost as much as Wacom, because you're paying for excellent customer support. So do they cost more? Sure. But I think you're getting something for that. You're getting, a customer support organization that will help you. So that's my take on that, right? I don't normally recommend tablets like UG and Gaumon, not because I think the technology is bad. That's not the reason at all. The reason I don't recommend them is that online, like if you go to the subreddits, you'll find the UG subreddit has very few people in it. I don't know. I'll make up a number. Let's just say it's 600. You know, the XP Pen subreddit has like, I don't know, 17,000 people in it registered, right? So if you need help between the two, where do you think you're going to get help from other users? Probably with the XP Pen tablet, right? And that, I hope that made sense. So I agree in a sense with the comment. I just don't like to call it overpriced, right? I haven't seen his, it's been a while since I watched some of his videos. I remember watching him talk about Wacom, and it seemed like he changed his position on third-party tablets, and that seemed to be a few years ago. I think the situation has changed, right? And I say that because I own 77 tablets, and I buy a lot of them, and I've spent a decent amount of money on these tablets. Huion's getting better. XP Pen is getting better. And I measure these tablets, and I can see that. Have they hit Wacom quality levels yet? No. But they're getting better every year, and they're close. They're close. And I'm looking forward to an age when we have strong, really, like, well, let me rephrase this. I'm looking forward to an age when Wacom, and we're really here now, Wacom's not the only game in town, and pretty soon you'll be able to get reliably a new Huion model or an XP Pen model, and you won't feel there's any inherent sense of risk about it, and you'll be very satisfied with the quality. So I hope that makes sense. I know there's a bit of a long-winded answer for this video. Okay, next one. Deco, this is actually Pen. These are now the first Pen tablet. Deco, I'm going to park it in A for a second and think about it. Deco Pro, MW, LW, and XLW Gen 2. I have the XLW Gen 2. I got to think about this one. This is tough for me because it is so close to the S tier for me. The only thing that holds me back a little bit is that with these tablets, I tend to see a little diagonal line wobble, more than I would like for a Pro tablet. It's tiny, right? It's a little bit, and you can manage it with stabilization, right? If I have to look at the other ones in the A tier and think about those issues, I would probably honestly put these in S tier. Right, it has a little more slightly a little more pointer lag than the Cintiq Intuos Pro, but they're good. They're very good. Like, I have no problem with them. I recommend them. So yeah, I think I'll put them in S tier. XP Pen Artist 22 Plus. So this is always interesting. We have two Artist 22 Pluses, one from Huion and one from XP Pen. They're very close, but I do think XP Pen has the edge here, and I'll put them in B tier. It's got that better X3 pen. Screen looks good. Connection options are better with the XP Pen Artist 22 Plus. The only criticism of it, which both models share, is that it's only HD resolution. Right? Tilt compensation was great. Parallax was good. I really like the tablet. If you can deal with the HD resolution, it's a solid tablet. Okay, XP Pen Deco series. So this is the M, MW, L, and MW. I think these are solid B tablets, right? I would have no hesitation recommending them. Again, pen is decent, performance is decent. I like these tablets, right? And increasingly for pen tablets, I've been recommending them. Okay, Huion Fro. Okay, before I talk about it, let me check chat again. Okay, there's a good comment here. I wonder if the shortcut keys are considered while ranking pen tablets. I really don't think about the shortcut keys. But I will say this, because I'm really focused more on drawing performance, but I will recognize that they are useful. once we get through this list, I'll think about if shortcut keys would change my mind on any of these, right? Okay, Frago M and Frago S. Okay, so let's find. Okay, Frago M and Frago S. These come with the new PW550 pen, which is still Pentec 3.0 from Huion, or at least it's not Pentec 4.0, but it's got a really good pressure range. Okay, these are very basic tablets, but they work great. I am actually tempted to put the Frago in A tier. I'm tempted. It might deserve that. I'll leave it here for now and let me think about it. But this is a solid tablet. If you're going with the pen tablet, this is great. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. Okay, Inspiroy 2 series. So there are 3 tablets in this series. The L, M, and S, large, medium, and small. Okay, I'm putting them in C tier. They came with the, God, what pen was it? Was it the PW1 110? It's still backwards compatible with PW517. When these tablets first came out, I felt like I found a lot of really sort of strange behavior at low pressure. Now, I and a couple of the people on Reddit found that. Lots of other people did not find that. So I think that it's that generation of Huion tablet. And if you get the PW550 pen, it'll work better. So, you know, if you want to move this into B tier, I think you need that PW550 pen. Now, we just had a comment there about buttons. So let me just talk about that briefly here with this tablet. This tablet is really powerful with buttons. So there are like 8 buttons on the tablet, and there's 3 other buttons on the side. So the 8 buttons do exactly what you think they do. You can assign them to do all sorts of things. But there's 3 other buttons that let you switch what the 8 buttons do. In other words, you can make the 8 buttons do some set of things. You press one of the other buttons, and it switches it to a new bank, meaning a new set of configurations. So in effect, each of the 8 buttons can do 3 different things, which means, you have 8 times 3, 24 different effective buttons on the tablet. And I believe this tablet also has a dial, right? So like, that's a lot. That's great. That is one of the most impressive things I've seen. I'm not typically a button user. I tried it with this tablet. I really liked it because, when I use the buttons, I don't have to touch the keyboard, which is the thing I try to avoid. So I am hoping that more people, there's more brands, start sort of doing more interesting things with buttons. I'm really glad Huion did this. I'm really tempted despite that. And by the way, let me go back to the low pressure problem. It seems like some firmware updates have fixed it, and I have been using it lately actually and drawing, and I haven't had any problems. I have set the pressure curve to, let me draw it correctly from your point of view, to go down and up like this to deal with some of, a little bit of that pressure instability at low pressure. And when I say pressure instability at low pressure, you have to really try to make it happen. And try to make it happen means, do I have a pen around here? I don't have a pen. I have to simulate with my hand. Normally, how do you draw with a pen? You're like this, right? Like the pen is at an angle. And then if you hold a pen, and this happens with almost every tablet, by the way, not just the Inspiroy 2. Even with an Intuos Pro, I can make that pen do things that make horrible strokes. If you hold a pen perfectly vertical, and the surface of your tablet has a little bit of texture, what the Intuos Pro does, and you move and keep the pen vertical, you'll get all sorts of weird bouncing and stuff. I mean, it's just really weird looking. And the Inspiroy 2 tablets do that. After my investigations, what I've discovered is all tablets do it. The Inspiroy 2 just does it a little bit more. Okay? And other than that, and so I think my initial fear about the tablet is gone now. I think it works fine, right? And if I did see a problem, I think it's been rectified with firmware updates. So I think it's a good tablet. I think the buttons probably, if there was a reason that moved it into B tier, it would be the buttons, because the buttons are really good. Okay. Okay, let me take a look at the comments real quick. Lots of talk about red tint on displays. Acelia, yes, I will, in fact, share the list and on the Discord, absolutely. Okay, Acelia has another comment. I'm very excited about the Intuos Pro lineup, as they're old by now, and I want to know how they would rank. We're going to get there, but before I do, actually, I'll wait. I'll tell you when I get there. It's good, some interesting news. Let's see. Intuos Pro is like the F-22. That's a great analogy. I love that. Yes, the Intuos Pro is like the F-22, F-22 Raptor, which is I'm really into aviation, both military and like commercial. Yes, that's a very good analogy. I love it. I love it. I'm going to start saying that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to steal that one from you. Let me keep taking a look, make sure that I'm not missing any comments. Okay. I am wondering between XL and XLW of XP Pro Gen 2. Okay. XL. Don't get the XLW. There's nothing wrong with, I think you're talking about the LW versus the XLW. The XLW is a great tablet. I have it. I love it. However, I'd recommend strongly everyone get the LW. There's nothing wrong with the XLW at all. But let me tell you why. For the vast majority of people, the LW will work better. The XLW is so huge, which is typical for a large tablet, and we'll talk about other large tablets that are pen tablets. You really have to change how it sits on your desk, how your keyboard's oriented, and all sorts of weird things with this kind of large tablet, okay? You have to adjust your workflow, and I think it's a lot to ask for people. So if you're certain you want a tablet that big, go for it. But I would normally just tell people to get the LW, which is a medium-sized tablet, okay? Again, it has nothing to do with quality. They're both great, but it's just a lot to deal with such a large tablet. On my YouTube channel, I have a video called, I think it's something like, should you get a large, or no, it's, are large drawing tablets good for, or large pen tablets, good for you? Where I look through the Wacom Intuos Pro Large, which is PTH 860, and it's like a 30-minute video, I think, and I go through all the things I had to do to use it on my desk, and how I had to adjust things, and how I had to retrain my hand and arm to draw differently. So I used all that space. So it takes investment to get the most out of these large tablets. And I think I love drawing on them. They feel luxurious, I think, compared to a medium tablet. But just know what you're getting into. Now, the good news is this. Even if you get the large tablet and you think, oh, it's too large, while you can't change the physical size, you can always change the active area to be smaller, right? And make it feel more like a medium-sized tablet. Interesting question. Does anyone else get dizzy when drawing on screenless tablets? I have never heard anyone say that. Interesting, though. I'll keep an eye out if anyone does feel that way. Okay, now we're moving on. Okay, the Giano G19, it's a Huion Inspiroy Giano G930L. I love this tablet, and I'm actually, it's a large tablet. It feels good. I love drawing with it. I'm almost, I'm kind of looking at these two now here and thinking these might even go in B tier. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to that thought. And when I get to the end of the list, I'm gonna think about that. So someone remind me if I forget. I may want to promote these and put them up to B tier. Okay, One by Wacom. Okay, I'm gonna just park it here for a second and talk about it. One by Wacom, medium and small. This is the CTL 672, CTL 472. Okay, now this might come as a shock. These tablets are S tier, right? These are absolutely S tier tablets. Let me tell you why. First of all, they're just great as a package deal, right? Super reliable, high performance. If you play OSU, the CTL 672 or CTL 472 are perfect for OSU. They're like basically only this and the Intuos Pro models are really good for OSU. The drawing performance is good. Its only negatives are that it is actually, maybe not S tier. I can put this in. I'll leave it in S tier. Its only negative is that it feels like the plastic of the pen feels a little cheap. Okay. And they don't have tilt. Okay. Because of that, I'll put them in A tier, right? But these are excellent tablets. These are absolutely excellent tablets. I highly recommend them for beginners, especially when you're not sure if you want to get into drawing tablets. They're highly reliable, and they're basic and they're good. And I think they represent a great value, right? A terrific value. Okay, Celia, I'll talk about Cintiq Pro 16 versus Movink. Absolutely. Okay, now we get the Intuos small and medium. There are 4 variants here. Some are Bluetooth enabled. Let me just park it here. And these are actually good tablets. Like, I'm not gonna lie, these are actually good tablets. I would put them in at least B tier. In fact, they're very close in a way to these two. Let me tell you, these also don't have tilt support. And the other thing about these is, and no one will ever notice, like the only people who notice this are people who use OSU. How can I explain this? There's pointer lag, right? And that pointer lag is due to many reasons, but in terms of the tablet, a lot of that comes from smoothing, position smoothing in the tablet driver, or in the tablet itself. Hardware smoothing, we call that. So that doesn't happen with the with the Wacom One, or the One by Wacom. And that's why it's so recommended for OSU. It doesn't do any hardware smoothing. Now keep in mind, pens there are 2 kinds, the pen position is either when the pen is dragging, meaning touching the surface, or when the pen is hovering. And for the One by Wacom, there's no smoothing in either case. With the Intuos small and medium, there's no smoothing when you're dragging, meaning drawing, but there is smoothing when you're on hover. And this is a big deal for OSU players. So, and I know many of you probably don't play OSU, but I just want to point that out, why there is any difference. The other thing is that these tablets have buttons, which is very nice. Now, I think B tier is good for these. The pens are decent. They're actually pretty good. In fact, they have very low initial activation force. Probably on balance, I will put these up with the One by Wacom. I recommend these also for beginners. They cost more than the One by Wacom series, but these are also fine tablets. Right? Okay, Intuos Pro. Yeah. Again, kind of like the F-22 Raptor situation. These are S tier. These are absolutely S tier. I can't speak enough about how good they are. Right? The only problem, and the problem people complain about these is they have a very textured surface, right? And if you're like drawing, like you're shading with a pencil on these, with the pen, you'll eat that nib up. Now, I draw on these, and my nibs last years because I don't do that kind of like back and forth over and over. But some people do that, and they eat up a nib in, a week. So that's a complaint. That surface on these, though, it will rub away after a while. You'll see it. It'll get like kind of shiny in the place where you draw. So the problem will sort of self-correct. So these are great. Now, Celia, you made a comment earlier, and I said I was going to say something, which is some interesting news. Okay, let me take a drink. So on the Wacom subreddit, someone posted a link to some site that tracks, when companies have a new product, they have to submit some documentation to the FCC so that the FCC tests it, I suppose, so that it doesn't interfere with other devices and meet some other regulations. So someone pointed out that Wacom had submitted documents for a new line of tablets, a new Intuos Pro series. Now, typically what happens is these documents get submitted, and then like we see the tablet, I don't know, a year later, right? And the timeline is never totally clear. And by the way, this site with these FEC applications, they don't have any pictures of the tablets, but we know their model numbers and some other things about them. I would say this: if you're interested in getting an Intuos Pro, you might want to wait. You might want to wait until next year. And there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, it looks like, these are going to be the new ones, so that's going to be great. You can find that Reddit thread. You can see some interesting discussion about what people are seeing in the documentation, and there are some interesting things. The other thing is the mere existence of these tablets, and we think they're going to be out in 2025, it should cause people to sell their existing Intuos Pros, because they'll upgrade to the new one and they'll sell these at a slight discount. So maybe you'll get something cheaper on eBay, for example, right? So I'm really looking forward to that. What I'd expect is that they will switch to the Pro Pen 3, which is, it's a good pen. I actually prefer the Pro Pen 2, by the way. And then here's what I'm really hoping. And I think some people saw this in the FCC documentation. Let's go back to the Movink for a second. The Movink comes with the Pro Pen 3. It's backwards compatible with the Pro Pen 2 and the Grip Pen, but it's also compatible with some of the consumer pens, notably the pen that comes with the Wacom One, that's the CP913, and then the pen that comes with these Wacom ones, which is the CP923, and by extension, it's compatible with the S Pen. I've done that. I've used the S Pen on the Movink, and some other ones like the Lamy pens, etc. So that was interesting. It was the first time Wacom had a tablet that they say supports a professional series of pens and the consumer lines of pens, right? Now, to be honest, I've used the consumer lines of pens on the Movink 13. They don't produce as good results as the Pro pens. And if you look on my documentation site, I actually show examples of the stroke quality between the two pens. But the reason I'm spending all this time is I'm hoping that the new Intuos Pros are also like that. And I think there are hints in the documentation that they will be, that it'll actually support other pens and not just the Pro pen. So that's going to be really interesting if that does happen. And again, who knows? Maybe Wacom will change their opinion on these things. We won't see them, but that's what we think is going to happen. Okay, let me get chat and take a look at the questions. So see if anyone's commenting on this. I didn't watch the start. Do the tiers take pricing into account? They do not. The tiers are not related to pricing at all. And so, for example, in the S tier, you will generally see expensive things, but that was kind of accidental. It wasn't intentional, right? And then in the A tier, for example, it's you'll see really expensive things like $800, $900 here, but you're seeing something that's $250 here and something that's like $70 here. So, it's just about how good the tablet really is in drawing and as a total package, right? Okay. Let me get to the question. I have one more and then we'll get with the questions. Okay. This one's tough for me. This one's going to be real tough for me. Now we have the Wacom One M and Wacom One S. These were tablets, pen tablets released in 2024 or 2023. These are absolutely awful tablets. You know what, honestly? I'm not even sure I'd put them in D tier. They may need an E tier. They're that bad. Okay? Why are they bad? Partly it's due to the pen. The CP923 pen is worse than the CP913 pen. Okay, so that's one issue. But if you draw on these tablets, the stroke quality is horrid. I'm shocked that they released these tablets, right? I have to believe it wasn't accidental, because if it was accidental, it would mean Wacom has a really poor quality control, which I don't believe they have poor quality control. I believe it was deliberate. The pen strokes are not refined. They pulse. They're unattractive. And I think they know this. And for whatever reason, they're just not interested in making a better experience. I can't explain, any deeper than that why it's like that. But yeah, these are awful. These are absolutely just trash, right? And don't buy them. Don't buy them. Just completely avoid them. Really, these deserve to be in an E tier, right? I'm sorry, I didn't think about that. D is complimenting them too much. They deserve their own very bad tier. Okay, now I'll get to the chat. Can you add more with the PW550 pen for better comparison? For example, Kamvas Pro. Koyo, I'm not sure what you mean, but maybe I can show you a little bit about what I was getting at. Let me see if I can find. Give me a second, and I may need to open up a PowerPoint. Let's see. 1 minute. Okay, hopefully this works. Because I talked about this PW550 pen so much versus the PW517, it's probably worth people just understanding what it is I'm actually saying. Okay, it looks like it's taking a little bit longer than I expected for this PowerPoint to load up, so I'll move this over and deal with some of the other questions. First is, currently I don't think propen 3 could be used on Intuos Pro, only propen 3D. I think only propen 3D. The propen 3 just does not work with the current Intuos Pro models. I've tried, and in fact, Wacom, when they released the propen 3, someone asked them this question. They tweeted back out, "Yeah, we're working on it." This was in December of 2022, and they said, "Hey, we're working on a driver update that'll make it compatible." I've actually pinged them. I've replied to that thread, I think once or twice. They just have not replied back. So that was one time. Then when they released the Cintiq Pro 22, they had a demo session, and they just had email, and you could just sign up, and they would walk through their marketing materials for the product, and they mentioned they're going to bring compatibility to the propen 3 back to older tablets. They didn't say which tablets. They just said they were going to do it, but they just looks like their plans have changed, and they're not going to do it at all. So I think they've lost interest in bringing backwards compatibility to it. We know the propen 3 is sort of compatible, and let me tell you why I know this. I wish I had two pens in front of me, because it'd make it much more easy for me to talk about this. So let me change my screen here, since you need to see my hands for this one. So when you have a tablet, I've got a tablet right in front of me though. This is the Huion Fro. Okay, just pretend it's an Intuos Pro. And you take a pen, and you can put the pen there, like the normal Pro pen too, it'll work. And what you do is, as it's there, you take another pen, and you hold them both there, and you take the first pen away. So I've done that, and several people have done that with the propen 3 and the Intuos Pro. And the Pro will actually register the propen 3. You can actually, it'll detect the position of the pen. Now, drawing doesn't work, right? and I think pressure doesn't work, but it does detect the pen. So there is some compatibility, but there's something else about it which seems to make it incompatible. So I was hoping, based on that evidence, they would ship a driver update or a firmware update that would bring full compatibility. Who knows? Maybe there's some limiting factors preventing it, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be compatible. It's not like they changed the technology, really, right? It's the same. The insides are basically the same as far as I know. Okay, let me get back to the screen. Okay. Okay, so your average Joe, we're gonna discuss this. This is something I want to just like hold off for a second. I'm actually going to correct, because I said I want to revisit this. I will actually put the G930L into B, right? So I don't want to be unfair to it. I think it is a really good tablet. Putting it in C makes it sound like I'm really disappointed with it. Yes, I do think getting the PW550 pen would make it an even better tablet, but I have loved using it. I think it's a really nice. I was literally drawing with it just today. So I think putting it in C is unfair. Now, in that same way, I'm going to actually move the Inspiroy 2 into the B tier. Because I think they've addressed the issues I found with that low pressure. And again, all tablets have that issue. And also, those buttons do actually make a difference, right? I think that's a really good thing. So I think they do deserve to actually be moved up into the B tier. Okay. And Acelia, you have... Oh, sorry. Nikhil. What about Artist 19 Pro Gen 2? Oh, I didn't cover that. Okay, I can cover that. I can talk about it. I don't know how I missed it. Artist 19 Pro Gen 2 from XP Pen would be in the same bucket as the Artist Pro, like these two. These are actually all the same series, actually, right? And so what I'll say is this. The 19 was really good. I did like it. I did really like it. I still chose the Kamvas Pro as better. Where the 19, the 19 does not have touch, which is not a crime. I mean, not everyone really wants touch or uses touch. I did think it had maybe not quite as good tilt compensation as the Kamvas Pro here, but still very good. So I think it would be an A tier. It'd be an A tier. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Let me get back to this comment here. Hopefully they release a Gen 2 with Pentec 4.0. I'm sure they're going to do it. I'm sure they're going to do it because lots of their tablets, are a couple years old now, and I think everyone knows the Pentec 4.0 stuff is a winner. It absolutely is a winner. So I'm very positive on it. And I think they're going to do it. The Kamvas 16 is the 2019 model. Let me double check on that. I think it is. I had to double check, but I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think they've released a newer one, as far as I know. You might. Okay. Let me scroll back up. I was debating Pro 16 versus 16 2021. Okay, you dodged a bullet. Yeah. And let's see what Koyo says. You might want to add 2 more tiers and move those Wacoms to the F tier. The F tier. I might do that after the session because I'm not so familiar with the software and editing the tiers. So, okay, Koyo, you pointed out it's the 16. Then that's the one I got. Kamvas 16 2021, and I can verify that with the model number. Yeah, and I think it's definitely the 2021 because the pen that comes with it is the PW517 pen and not the older PW500 or 507. Oh, and I see someone's commented about the tilt compensation. So that's exactly what I'm getting with the XP Pen 19 Gen 2. I just can't get the pen to stay on point when tilting, no matter how many times I calibrate. Yeah, they've got to improve that. You know, if you're calling a tablet Pro, you gotta nail that. If you've seen some of my videos where I compare tilt compensation, and I did that for this tablet, the Movink was excellent, right? The Kamvas Pro 19 was excellent, but when you see this and it's in the same price range, then you're like, oh, you really want. Again, it may not bother some people, but I feel like it's an issue that has to be addressed, right? Okay, let's see what Nikhil says. I was looking for a 22 or 24-inch display tablet, thinking of Pro 4K. Do you think that's a good option, or should you wait? Wait. Absolutely wait. Because what they should do is they should improve the anti-glare sparkle, and you'll get a much better pen. I think it is worth waiting, okay? With Frago and Inspiroy 2 on the same tier, how different are they? Well, I would say Frago's an excellent tablet because it's simple, it's great for beginners, and it has an excellent pen, right? You can make the Inspiroy 2 as good as that because it can work with the same PW550 pen, right? And also it has those buttons. So I think, you can... the drawing performance is similar if you use the same pen, is what I'm trying to say, right? And the PW550 pen is pretty good. Did you answer the Movink versus Cintiq Pro 16 and I missed it? Well, okay, I did not answer it. Let's talk about it. This is interesting. So, Movink 13, which I love, it's on my desk. And then the Cintiq Pro 16. So there's different ways I could approach this, right? Number one is, if your issue is portability and you need something to carry with you, Movink 13 is a winner, right? Like it's so light and thin, and the fact that it can be just like charged, or it can be run from a single cable from your laptop, that's amazing, right? Cintiq Pro requires a separate power adapter. It's a kind of a beast, right? Even though it's not that big, it's a real thing. Now, so Movink is really good if you're, just kind of drawing in, I would say, in circumstances where you have to be super lightweight and portable. Cintiq Pro, if you're setting up an environment in another location, yeah, there's no harm in bringing it because, you're setting it up and you're going to stay there for a while. In terms of screen, it's hard to say. I think they're both good. We don't know how OLED is going to work in terms of lifetime versus, the Cintiq Pro will just basically last a very long time. They both have touch. I can't remember if Cintiq Pro has those menus, those on-screen menus in the same way that the Movink does. So I'll have to double check on that. It's hard to pick, honestly. I would say this. If there was a Movink 16, I think, I would go with the Movink, honestly, right? Because you just feel different about a tablet when it's that light, right? And the pens are a wash. Sorry, I should be clear when I say that. There's no difference in the pens. The Cintiq Pro comes with the Pro Pen 2, the Movink with the Pro Pen 3, but though, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Pro Pen 3 is any better at all than the Pro Pen 2, right? I don't even like the Pro Pen 3 that much. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like to hold it, though some people love it. So that's why I think the Cintiq Pro is they have the same drawing performance, basically. Would I say yes to buying a Giano or wait? Wait, absolutely wait. wait until they get the Pentec 4.0 stuff out there, right? You will prefer that easily. If you get the Huion Kamvas 4K, you should also get the Frago S because of the 550 pen, which is the upgrade. Yeah, absolutely. 550 pen is a terrific upgrade. Any Huion tablet with the PW517 pen, get the PW550. And they're actually more, it's compatible with even more tablets. Just go to the PW550 page on Huion's site and find out which tablets work with it. Okay, I'm just looking through for other comments. Okay, we have an interesting question here. Where would pencil and paper rank in this tier list? Well, let's see. Perfect, no pointer lag, right? Works in all, requires no power, right? It's kind of durable. Requires external lighting. Variety of pens or pencils. I would rate, immediate, portable, cheap, easy to replace. Pens compatible with multiple paper tablets. So cross compatibility is excellent. No vendor or brand lock-in. In a lot of ways, pen and paper is S tier. Pen and paper is S tier. Yeah, I would say that's fair. You didn't expect that to actually answer that, huh? I think about that all the time, actually, right? I'll be honest with you. Folks, I have 77 drawing tablets, right? Sometimes I need to sketch something like, maybe it might not even be drawing, but like, I just need to like arrange some boxes, and I get a piece of paper and a pen. There is some value with paper and pen. Let's not pretend otherwise. Okay, great question here. What about getting something like an S8, S9 Ultra and using it with Super Display? I have not tried Super Display. I have not. Others have tried it. I can't remember the Super Display. Does it work over a USB cable or wired? Some people really like it, apparently, right? But I will say this. The so this Samsung, I know I didn't cover, what do you call them? Standalone tablets, right? Standalone tablets are simple. I'll just say it out loud so everyone hears it. iPad is S tier. Clear S tier, okay? Samsung Galaxy Tab S series is, it's A tier. It's A tier, okay? And the reason it's A tier, it's only one reason. It's because the Samsung S Pen is decent, but it's not as good as the Apple Pencil. It's not even as good as the Wacom CP913 pen, which is a better pen that works with these Galaxy Tab series tablets. I love sketching on, I've been sketching lately with my Samsung S8 Ultra, just by itself, no Super Display. I think I answered it, Celia. I would put the Samsung, like the S8 Ultra, in A tier and the iPad into S tier, right? And that's really due to the pen. The Samsung S Pen is not great. I tell you what, if somehow, which this will never happen because Wacom will forbid it, if I could use the Pro Pen 2 with the Samsung S series tablets, that would instantaneously vault them into S tier. Instantaneously. Okay? That's how good they are. Nothing. I don't have a separate tier list for Android Apple tablets, and the reason is, I really don't have that many. I only have a couple. So, and like I just said, like they're good. Like iPads are S tier and the Samsungs are A tier, right? Oh, X, this is a good point. Yeah, and a great clarification. The Frago M supports tilt while the S does not. And yeah, really those should be, well, I would say this. Even some of these in A tier don't support tilt, right? So it's I'm not sure if I'd reclassify them, but it's like a little star next to the S. One thing I want to talk about tilt though, because this is something that I wish Huion had not done. So tilt has nothing to do with the pen. Like the pen doesn't know it's being tilted. It doesn't have any special components for tilt. Tilt is all done by the tablet. Okay? What does that mean? That means that the tablet, more likely the Huion driver actually, tablet sense the tilt of the pen. And the firmware will, determine the tilt, right? I'm pretty sure Huion does not have separate firmware for the M and S, one that simply does not have tilt, right? That they disable the tilt code. More likely, both tablets do the exact thing. They detect tilt, but the driver just sort of, erases the tilt information, right? I don't know why Huion did this. I think it's a very strange thing to do because, the Wacom entry levels don't have tilt, and why not have tilt in this Frago model? I think that's a great sell for the tablet, right? If I had to pick one of all of these tablets, which one would you pick? Well, let me separate it out by pen displays and pen tablets, okay? Right now, the pen display that I'm using the most and I'm the most happy with is the Kamvas Pro 19, right? I like that it's bigger than 16. I like that it's not too big. I love that it has good performance. Again, some people don't like the kind of softness of the pixels. I think it's great. I would pick that. Easy pen display victory. For pen tablets of this list, easy choice. Intuos Pro Large, PTH 860. Clear winner. Clear winner. What about Krita with tilt? I'm not understanding this question, so could you maybe elaborate and I'll get back to it. USB cable works great with Super Display, but tilt has a problem with Clip Studio, at least on... Okay, it's a Super Display question. I've never used it. I can't comment on that one. Okay, next tier list, drawing software and apps, maybe. Oh gosh, that'd be a tough one for me because I don't use that many apps, right? Like I use Clip Studio Paint and Krita and Concepts and a little bit of High Paint, some Infinite Painter. I don't know if I have enough knowledge to tell you about apps. So I think it would be hard for me to make a tier list about that. Brad Colbo, one of my favorite people, he did do a tier list on apps, and I think he's more familiar with apps than I am. So I'd say check out his tier list, which is not, he did it relatively recently, I think, right? Of apps, I will say this, I draw mostly like line art, and, things that are like web comics or manga or whatever. I think my favorite app by far these days is Clip Studio Paint. I'm absolutely in love with Clip Studio Paint. I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that it's kind of, I think of it as very geeky type of app, right? And what I mean by that is, this is not going to make sense maybe, but it's not just an app to draw with. It gives you so much control. It's like a workbench, that gives you absolute control, and all the things it offers really makes me realize the creators of Clip Studio Paint know that there's lots of subtle things when you're drawing a lot, like the way it does vector layers, the way you can control how, the anti-aliasing of things, the different blend modes, some of which I've never even seen in other apps. I love it. So maybe I'll do a video where I just share my love on Clip Studio Paint. Okay, commenting on Kamvas Pro 19, would you suggest for Movink 13 versus what would you suggest for Movink 13 versus Kamvas 13? Portability is not a concern. I assume you mean Kamvas 13 Gen 3. Portability is not a concern. I think the real value is Kamvas 13 Gen 3, right? The Movink has a better drawing experience because it has lower initial activation force with its pen, but I don't know if it's that important. And it's also $800 versus the Kamvas 13 Gen 3 is like $250. I would definitely, unless you need the Movink 13s, maybe its color modes and things, like I would easily send people toward the direction of the Kamvas 13 Gen 3. Let's see. Do you think it'd be worth it to wait for a new Intuos Pro to be released and then get a used one from the current gen? Looking at the large, but it's quite expensive. Let me think about this one. Yeah, I do think it would be worth it doing that. Now, having said that, I have to tell you, if you're carefully looking at eBay, you will find occasionally some really great deals on Wacom Intuos Pro tablets. Absurd deals have been seen, right? I think I saw someone, I can confirm this, I'm pretty sure one of my tablet friends found an Intuos Pro large for like $50, like a ridiculously low price. As long as you're getting one that isn't, banged up and, actually, if it is even banged up, meaning like there's lots of scratches, you might be able to get a new texture sheet. Those are running low on, those are not in great supply though, so that's another issue. But if you just keep looking, you'll find a good deal. I've seen them often as low as $200, which is still a lot, but it's at the same price as the Giano or the equivalent XP Pen extra large tablet. But yeah, in general, I would say just wait, right? Because I think a lot of people will actually get the new Intuos Pro because, people just like to upgrade and they'll sell their old one, right? Because they, and you might get some great deals there. So I think it's a good idea. Have you tried the touch on the Kamvas Pro 19 with Mac OS? I think I installed the firmware update for it, but I haven't tried it. I can't remember. Maybe it was the guy who does the Create Now, Sleep Later YouTube channel. I think he tried it, and it doesn't work as well as it does on Windows, which is understandable. It's not a fault of Huion's. Just to repeat something I've said in previous live streams, I worked at Microsoft for 28 years, and for the vast majority of that time, Microsoft has been obsessed with, PCs that were tablets that had good touch. So touch is really crazily baked into Windows. So it makes sense that it works really well with Windows. With Mac OS, I think I'll try it out soon. I just don't expect it will be as nice. What I always tell people is, the iPad and iOS, touch works great there. And if you enable touch, which I have done with Cintiq Pros on Mac OS, in your mind, you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to get the same fluid experience of touch on a Mac OS computer as I had with the iPad. It doesn't happen. It feels clunky. Not all the gestures work like you'd expect. So, and again, it's not the fault of any tablet manufacturer. I think it's just Mac OS. Movink 13 versus Kamvas Pro 19. Easy win, Kamvas 19 Pro. or Canvas Pro 19. Easy choice, right? The size is worth it. The size is really worth it. My take, let's see. I came from Krita, love the transparent PNGs, draggable references. Yeah, I'm still adjusting to Krita actually. I'm not a Krita expert. And let's read a comment on CSP. Yeah, I'd agree. I love the one-click backups. I do find it very bug-free. I haven't had issues. I know some people have, but I don't see that, right? The only other thing I'd like with Clip Studio Paint, I think some people feel like its brushes lag a lot, especially when you get beyond like a couple hundred pixels. I don't draw that way, so it doesn't affect me so much. But when I'm filling in with a lot of airbrush, I do notice it. Krita is the Linux of drawing software. That is true. That is absolutely true. Let's see. Does higher refresh rate help when it comes to display tablets? If you like a higher refresh rate, then you might like that. I will say I haven't found anything that benefits drawing. It makes pointer lag a little bit less, like 10% less, but not 50% less. I don't think it's an improvement. In fact, and in the tablets where I've turned on, let's say 120 hertz refresh rate or higher, it tends to cause more power to be used, so the screen gets warmer, right? I didn't notice it so much with the Cintiq Pro series that supports 120 hertz, but with the Canvas Pro 24, 165 hertz, that screen felt pretty warm, right? Not hot, just really warm. So that's kind of a disadvantage. It's not pleasant to touch it that way. Yeah, these Krita brushes these CSP brushes are, and nothing helps, right? More memory doesn't seem to help, and what I mean by that is, I'm sure if you had very little memory, it might help, but I'm running Krita on Clip Studio Paint. I'm running it on a 16-core, 16-core, 120 gigabytes of RAM. With not the most powerful GPU in the world, but an RTX 3070. Overall, I think my machine is very well spec'd. Doesn't make a difference. I might as well be drawing on my Surface Pro 7. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's just surprising. Nothing seems to help the way CSP brushes work. Canvas Pro versus Cintiq Pro 16. I'm an artist for Pro. Yeah, I think the Canvas Pros will give the Cintiq Pro, like I said, the Canvas Pro 19 is absolutely a pro level challenger to Wacom right now, right? And this is the first time I felt like this, if you were a professional, you'd be able to use them and without any compromises. I have never met anyone who left from CSP to Krita. That's interesting. I'd love to know more why. Yeah, I think I answered this. Canvas Pro 19 easily over the Cintiq Pro 16. That extra, couple of inches makes a difference. Oh, here's an interesting comment. I talked to the CSP staff, and they're not able to multi-thread the brush engine or whatever. It's not going to get better in a long while. 100% I believe you. I worked in software for quite a while, and I even, actually, you guys don't know this about me. I actually worked on a graphics application for Microsoft called PhotoDraw 2000. But in any case, I'm just saying I have some background in this topic. Changing these rendering engines and the brush engines, none of that's easy, and it takes real re-architecture, and it's not like a trivial thing. And absolutely, I could believe it's a multi-year effort, right? Something we'll see by 2030, maybe. I don't know. I hope they do it, but it's hard to rip out the guts of a program and put in something that's just magically multi-thread and make it work. It's just more complicated than that, right? Yeah, and it's probably using the same code base from 30 years ago, easily. I don't doubt that. Yes, a few extra inches will help in these cases. From 16 to 19, it really makes a difference, honestly. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I think we've had a good session. We talked about a lot of interesting things, gone through a lot of great Q&A here. And so I'll wrap it up in just a minute. Let me just say, I want to thank everybody for participating. This was a super fun stream for me. And, we went on for 2 hours. Can you believe it? And so before I leave, besides thanking you, I just want to say, if you're interested in talking about tablets and the tech behind tablets, please join our Discord, right? The link to it is in the Drawing Tablet subreddit. Or if you can't find it, just, email me and I'll send you the link directly. The second thing is, and I'll talk about probably more of this. I want to do a video before the end of the year, which is kind of a thoughts video, which is, what do I think about what's happening? Where are tablets going? What technologies might be coming, right? And I want to be able to say, maybe just sort of guess what world might be like. I will say this, though, right now. I think we're living a really good time because we have so many tablets out there which are getting good. We have still a lot on the market which are a little outdated. But, by the time we finish 2025, I think we're going to have so many options for great tablets. It's going to be a very different world, right? In fact, I don't even know if I need to do any more, reviews or evaluations of tablets because they're just starting to get pretty good, and I won't have to worry about it anymore. And that's really what I want. I want tablets to work great, and then we can start focusing on software and using that software to make better, to do better and be more efficient in making our art and being creative. So I'm really looking forward to the future. Anyway, like I said, I'll do a separate video on that. Thanks again, everybody, for your time. And I'll catch you all soon. Have a great day or night, everyone. Okay, now I'm shutting down the stream.